the Unnamed Cybersecurity Podcast Show. We've got we've got everybody back here. We've got Bob out of New Jersey. We've got Chris out of Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, not out of Pennsylvania. He's in Michigan. I'm sorry.
I moved.
He moved. I was looking at a map and I said Chris. Chris is actually in Parsippany, New Jersey. And then we have Matt out of Pennsylvania. And then we've got me here in Westchester, New York, getting my tires changed. So today we're going to be talking about you hear this all the time about a MITRE attack. And we wanted to start breaking down all of the different parts of it. And so, Chris, I'm going to ask you the first question. What is a MITRE attack?
It's really just a framework that kind of covers and it tracks like how hackers, what tactics and techniques they use to actually gain access to networks. It's like an entire attack life cycle. So what we're doing today is CISA from the US government released a report on risk assessments for last year. And we're going to cover the first 4 of 11 today. We're going to start with initial access. We're going to cover this and kind of show you like how hackers are gaining access to networks and kind of breaking that down for you.
Sounds great. So Bob, you have a graph you wanted to throw up here. If you can.
Give me a second here.
Not a problem.
And while we're waiting, do we want to say what CISA is for those not in the know?
Good question, Matt.
Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And yes, I read that and said it slowly because I don't think I usually say it right as a tongue twister. So we say CISA.
It isn't.
Yeah. So, some people it's CISA, some people it's CISA. It's like Azure and Azure, right? Like people just use different terms. Words, right?
So we're going to start with initial access. Chris, you wanted to start with that?
Yeah, so this is like the first. So when we think about an attack, the first thing we need to think about is how did somebody gain access to the environment, whether it's a cloud environment, whether it's your on-premise environment, maybe it's your business or whatever. So the way that they're actually getting access is, well, it's unauthorized access, first of all. So it could be through a spear phishing link, which is 4.89% of it. But what scares me out of all this is 42.28% were just valid accounts, which means they got access by just logging in. So it's some service that a company just has broadcast on the internet and they didn't have to hack anything. They either bought the accounts or somebody gave them up in a phishing email, but they just logged in.
Wow. So where would they go to buy these accounts?
Well, I have a marketplace on the dark. I mean, no, I don't have a marketplace on the dark web, but there are marketplaces on the dark web where you can they're called initial access brokers, and they sell access into corporations, but they also sell access into small businesses. I saw one a couple weeks ago. It was for a health firm. They had 12 employees, and they were selling access into it.
Wow.
They had working credentials, and they even had the VPN set up that you can just log into it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wild.
Simple username and passwords, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like today, most people just log in. So if you look at this graph, you can see that spear phishing link was 26%. But what are they collecting from a spear phishing link? They're trying to. Sometimes it's malware, but a lot of times it's just getting those credentials. And when people think hacking, they think they're actively hacking something. Well, if you look at brute force, which would be something you think of from a hacker perspective, that was only 9%. Exploiting something like a public facing application, like maybe you have like a sales something salesy or something like that that's inside your network, 6%. Really? Spear phishing attachment was 6%. So a spear phishing link was 26%, but the attachment, like putting like an Adobe PDF or a Word document or something, was only 6%. It just goes to show you that if they can get the credentials, they'll just log in. No need to hack; they'll just log in.
Incredible.
And if you look at the at that table, some of the mitigation techniques that they recommend in there, there's stuff that we've been saying all along. But the second one on the list, changing default passwords. You know how many?
Admin.
Yeah. Admin password. Trails out.
Admin password. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4,
admin
5.
blank password. Admin blank password. Don't forget that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
My favorite is password said backwards.
Trails out.
let's move on to execution. That's the next phase in the attack framework. So once they gain initial access to your network or cloud application or whatever, what are they going to do? They're going to use something to execute malicious code, probably on the network, to further compromise the systems. Sometimes that's just a simple PowerShell script. Other times it could be running an application. But when you look at this, and this is
To
going
me,
to
a lot of those are built-in services that are being used when you add them up.
yeah. So let's look at the top one. Other is other's just going to be a bunch of crap. So let's just kind of skip. Yeah. So this is called living off the land. A lot of this is living off the land. So what that means is they're using common Windows tools to do some of the hacking. So when you look at that list, and it's probably hard to see, but like remote desktop protocol, let's see here.
Um,
mean, me and
NLSS
Bob-
driver, registry, things like that. Those are all built-in tools into Windows that they're using just to kind of.
I mean, Me and Bob were at a conference last week,
Sure.
and one of the guys in there was showing how they could create a PowerShell. Through ChatGPT, you just say, "Write me that PowerShell." So you're really not needing the bad guy to really be a computer expert anymore.
Yeah, I like how control panel items was 7%. They opened control panel. Good news for us is control panel is going away because
Yeah, it is.
Microsoft's getting rid of it. So,
Well, I mean,
no, that's
every
probably
virtual
all print,
Windows
they
is getting
probably classify
revised.
print drivers in there.
well, and let's look at this further too. A lot of people think it's always the user problem. Well, user execution was 10% of it, but think about it. Of all the execution techniques that were successful, only 10% of them was a user actually executing something.
Mhm.
So we talk about training users, but when you look at the data, yes, as much as you want to train users and stuff like that, they're only 10% of the equation in this case. So, and look at the hardware and software approval process. I love that one so much. How many times have you guys went to a company and you're like, you really should have a standard for what software gets loaded on computers, and they just look at you like you're crazy. Like, oh, we can't do that. Like, we have to be able to install any program that we want.
At any time.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why you don't want that. Just saying. It's one of those things where you just got to be careful.
I
about
just
that.
spent a little time in the South on a little short vacation, and I learned that if you're one of the ones that allows anything get installed for any user, they would just say "bless your heart" about that.
Yes.
Bless your heart. Just that backhanded comment of that's
We're
not
gonna-
a good policy.
I think we should leave that one alone. Bless your heart, Matt. Moving on.
It needs blessing.
That's the southern version of the New York Go F.
Mhm.
Ooh.
It's just a little more under the Carl standard.
Kinder, it's nicer, it's softer.
It's softer. That's a good way to put it. So if we recap real quick, we got initial access, so somebody's already in there. What are they executing now on the devices, whether it's malware or whether it's something that's just built in? And does anybody want to guess what comes next? What are they trying to do next?
They're going to explore. They're going to look for
I
stuff.
want to put up my tent and stay for a while.
Yeah,
Exactly. They want to gain persistence. Let's move on to persistence.
I want the
Ooh.
user to invite their friends.
This is like your in-law that comes to your house and just won't leave. So, or family member, pick a family member. So the idea behind a threat actor is once they get a hold of your network, they want to maintain persistence. They want to have a foothold. So just in case you reboot your computer, they don't want to lose access. Just in case you do something, they don't want to lose access. So they're going to change, they might change credentials. They might modify configuration files. They can do a ton of stuff. And they're also going to monitor and manipulate reports so that they kind of try to remain undetected because they don't want you to know that they're there, right? That's the whole thing. Look at what 42% of persistence is. It goes back to initial access. They just have a valid account. Straight up. They have persistence through a valid account.
Nobody was checking.
And then, 14%, obviously, they do some hidden folder shenanigans.
I really wonder what percentage of that valid accounts is accounts they created as backup access for themselves or just continuing to use credentials they found. That's probably
part of it,
too detailed.
Part of it could be just pulling the hash from
That's true.
like an administrator and then making other accounts. So they can make accounts to maintain that persistence. But a lot of this like LSAS driver and things like that'd be like trying to pull accounts. a lot of this is going to be tied to the malware, where it's just hidden, it's running in the background. Some of this could be like a legitimate application. Like I've seen AnyDesk deployed, so AnyDesk can be deployed to, they can maintain persistence through like AnyDesk, like which is like a remote access tool. So like TeamViewer and things like that. Like if it's legitimate, it's on a system. Most of the time, people aren't going to notice it. You might not even notice that, like especially if it existed before. So we got to be very careful about being able to detect this stuff. So we've covered initial access, we've covered execution, we covered persistence a little bit because they don't want to leave. To Bob's point, they set up camp and they don't want to leave. Like I said, much like in-laws, like family, things like that. So then after that, so I'm in, I have a valid account, I have malware, I have persistence. What am I going to try to do now?
Look for goodies.
Now the fun stuff begins, right?
I'm going to buy more land.
I'm going to land expand, right? Yep. So now we're trying to privilege escalate. And this is where they're like, maybe you have it at, maybe the way that they got access to your account is through like a standard user account, not an administrator. They're going to do things like through Windows built-in tools like exploits and things like that. They're going to try to get that standard user to an administrator. What I just talked about with their ability to gain persistence, this doesn't always happen technically in this order. If they could get privilege escalation through trying to look to how to be persistent, but if you've ever logged in with an admin account on a computer, a lot of times that is cached, and they might be able to take that hash that exists for that administrative account and use that to escalate. So again, they're just trying to get to admin privileges.
So Chris, just to explain a little bit on that. So the hash,
Yeah.
the password. So this is actually stored credentials, a stored credential to get into the box. It's a stored key that the bad guys can get out. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting the password, but it does mean that they have something that will get them prove who they are, so they can go someplace else and use it.
Well, if you use a technique like pass a hash, you can actually log in as an administrator like that through certain services. So you can take that hash and pass it. So you don't have to have the password if you can get the hash. So if you're on a machine, you can elevate to administrator account. You can look at all the hashes on that computer, all the password hashes, and then you can relay those. So we look at this, and again, how do they do privilege escalate? Valid accounts, 44.69% of the time. What have we found out here? They're just using accounts most of the time. Almost nearly half the time through initial access, through privilege escalation, well, not privilege escalation, but like through persistence, and then through the privilege escalation, they are getting there with 40% with just good accounts. I mean, you can see some other tactics like bypass user access control. That's when Windows prompts you if you want to elevate something to administrator, that most people just click yes on and don't pay any attention to what they just clicked yes for. That's what that means. And they have like, look at those tiny percentages of other like built-in tools and things like that. But now that they've got access, they have persistence. Now they have privilege.
Scheduled task is a clever one. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just
we scheduled task can be used for a lot of things, including deploy ransomware later, like on reboot. So
it's very
you can
clever.
be careful of that. Oh, yeah. So now with that privilege escalation too, now it's all about recon, right? Like we're not going to go beyond privilege escalation today, but it's really how they can use recon, because if they have administrative privileges, let's say on a network, like a traditional network for a company that has maybe like a Microsoft server that has files on it and handles user accounts and things like that. It's called domain controller. If they can get access to that, they have keys to your kingdom. They can do whatever they want. They can do extensive recon. They will try to probably get to your passwords at that point or your backup as well. See if they can destroy it. And they're going to try to credential harvest as many admin accounts as they can, because maybe it's software, maybe it's cloud applications you have. So if they have admin privileges and they can get more access even to stuff outside of your network, they're going to try to do it, especially if they've been quiet and you don't know that they're in there.
And that's the big thing. These bad guys are getting into the systems, and they're hanging out for weeks, days, if not weeks or months, just tiptoeing through in some cases, not to set off any alarms. But I posted something last week that one of the speakers said that it was like 87% of the bad guys are using tools that are in place on the systems without having to install anything new to exfiltrate your data.
Yeah, it's called live off the land. So if you don't have to
Living off
install
the land,
tools, nobody's
Yep.
going to see that. Yep. Let's talk about the mitigations too. They talk about. I like the unique credentials part. So that means that what they saw when they say valid accounts, people were reusing credentials over. They were sharing credentials. So maybe somebody had a password list, a passwords.txt or like a spreadsheet or something like that that had passwords in it, and they just harvest the credentials out of there. Say, hey,
Well,
look,
this
I have
happened-
admin rights now.
That happened at Uber.
Chris,
That happened.
I was talking. I was doing an assessment 2 weeks ago and ran across somebody that it was a 75-person company. The IT director had a spreadsheet. He didn't let the people change their passwords.
Yeah.
Talk
Well,
about
Uber.
crazy.
Bless his heart.
I mean,
I
Uber.
didn't
couple
freeze.
Okay. A couple years ago, when Uber got breached,
Yep.
They got a sysadmin's account, and quickly, and they had a whole bunch of different layers throughout the whole account. But the
Mhm.
problem was he had a spreadsheet on how to circumvent all those layers because it was slowing his work down. So within about 30 minutes of getting the credentials into the system, they found that spreadsheet, and
It's
they were
really
able
nice
to
of
do.
them to leave
Yeah.
an instruction manual for
I
taking.
mean,
this.
I mean, I love roadmaps. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it
Roadmaps
makes it
are
easier
good.
for you because
Yeah.
it's like a how-to guide.
Hey, so if anybody ever wants to do a prospecting call with me, could you just give me a roadmap before how to sell to you so you'll actually buy? I would love that. If you're listening to this, please
Or
write
what,
it down, send it to me.
Chris, I don't even really want to sell. If you could just show me how to get your credit card or your bank account information, that would really expedite things a lot quicker.
We'll skip all the work. Just go
Tell
straight
you
to
what,
the
tell you what, Carl. I'll get my QR code up, and then you can just Venmo me a bunch of money, and then I'll tell you.
That sounds fair. That's
But we look at this a little bit more secure sensitive data. Not entirely sure what they mean by that. I think what they mean is that some accounts have access to data they shouldn't have. Network segmentation is big, so that if I'm on this machine on this computer, I shouldn't be able to get to certain other computers because I don't have a need for it. But a lot of networks are just wide open, so if I can see it on the network, I can try to get to it. And that's where they talk about. That's why privilege escalation. That's why the recon that they're doing is so bad if they can see it. And then detection of unsuccessful login attempts is kind of important. If you don't know that people are trying to log into stuff on your network or your applications, you're not getting those kind of alerts. It's kind of a bad thing.
Yeah, you broke up for a second, but I think you were trying to say, log people trying to log in as a user, and if it fails a whole bunch of times, something's up.
Yeah, you need to be able to log that, and you need to be able to make sure that you can detect that, whether it's cloud applications, whether it's in your network or whatnot.
Plus, we get some little account called, I don't know, administrator.
Yep.
Your failed logins in a minute, not good.
Yeah, and then the last one, detecting relevant threats and TTPs. Look, if you don't have detection and response capabilities on your network, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not going to be able to see any of this stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make that many mistakes.
You'll find out later. You won't find out in time.
Exactly. So I think. Carl's back. You back? All right.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So we're gonna over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna cover the rest of this report because it's really interesting. We hope you find it interesting. If you have any questions, let us know. But next week, the first one will be defense evasion. Ooh, cliffhanger.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But you guys have anything else relevant going on this week? Anything good? I'm at a show. I'm sponsoring a show, so.
Go sell stuff.
I'm prepping for my show for next week, which I'll be in Scottsdale.
Oh, there you go.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
I got a whole bunch of shows for next year.
Just gonna work.
Perfect.
Oh, maybe. These are luggage.
Your
tags.
cyber team. Look at that.
Cyber team, nice.
That looks sharp.
Yeah.
That looks very sharp.
Yeah, it's like a luggage tag. We stole the idea from somebody else, but I know it's blurry because.
That's cool.
You in your racing jacket too?
No, I got a football jersey on.
Oh, okay.
Football time, baby. Yeah, number 80. If anybody out there understands what number 80 in football represents, then shout out to you. But no, I think it's a good topic for this week, and I appreciate it. There's some stories coming too that we'll talk about. But yeah, the next 2 weeks we're just gonna cover this. This is good for everybody to know. Hopefully, good education. Drop us a follow, like it, share it with a colleague, share it with a friend. Matt
Loved
doesn't
one?
have any friends, so he can't share it, but it's fine.
True. Very low. I have my
Sure.
dog down here
I was gonna say share it with a pet.
Yeah.
sometimes.
I met a little Chihuahua mix here called Spreadsheet Sherman. So shout out to him if he sees it. He's cute. Yeah, he was fun. But hey guys,
I could bring the pack over to your event if you want to get some people in your booth.
Take all
You know
3
what?
dogs. I want to see how that
you
goes.
know what? 2 weeks ago, Bob and I were at an event that had a French bulldog, a little Frenchie at the table, and they were pulling some good leads. I think that's the move. I think I need a dog, a service dog I can bring, because I can't bring Riley. He'd be like chasing people and herding them all over this place. It'd be a catastrophe. It'd be funny, but it'd be a catastrophe. So
That'd be my dog
All right,
and
guys.
Tara too. All right. Talk to you guys next week.
All right.
talk to you guys next week. Have a good week. Talk to you guys.
All right.